I didn't actually intend to be here. It was a little bit by accident. I was going through my plastics training. I wanted to do reconstruction. I did a lot of fellowship interviews for reconstruction. And then at the 11th hour,
what motivated you? What inspired you to get into aesthetics?
Yeah, first off, Jerome, thanks for having me. It's always time well spent anytime I get to have with you. And then I just love it even more when I get to spend time together educating whoever's watching this video. So I hope whoever's watching, you guys find value in some of the principles we're going to roll out. Aesthetics for me, back to your question, I didn't actually intend to be here. It was a little bit by accident. I was going through my plastics training. I wanted to do reconstruction. I did a lot of fellowship interviews for reconstruction. And then at the 11th hour, my wife said, hey, honey, why don't you flip the script here a little bit, and why don't you do something where you can run a business? You love business. We ran businesses in our earlier years in undergraduate. And I got to thinking about that, and I said, that sounds cool, but what would that be? And she said, why don't we go into like aesthetic surgery instead of reconstructive surgery? So we dabbled around, looked at opportunities. I ended up going to an aesthetic surgery fellowship, and then the rest is history. We came straight out of the gate, moved back to our tiny little town. No people, no money. It's not where you would select on a map to go set up a cash pay practice, but it's hometown for us. We came back and we hit the ground running. I never took any insurance. I didn't participate in any managed care. It was very scary at first. It was very stressful and anxiety provoking. So for all of you out there that are developing something, or you're in the middle of something and it feels scary, I was there. We just hung our shingle, started from scratch, and started a cash pay practice straight out the gate.
I want to get into that because, we have a few thousand people who are early in their journey of an aesthetic practice or just jumping in, okay?
Yep.
You had nerves early on, I'm sure, like most of us, starting a new business. What were the 2, 3, 4, 5 things you did early on to get you past that first hurdle?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's a whole book about this if you guys want to learn more. It's the Exodus book, which I actually wrote about leaving managed care and jumping into a cash pay aesthetics practice. So if you find some of these principles valuable, look that up through the Boomerang platform. And so early on, let me just say, when you are feeling the weight and the anxiety and the stress of not only how am I going to make this work, but how am I going to feed my family, it's scary. So for those of you that are out there that are feeling that, that's part of it. And so I would say on the backside, 10 years in now, on the backside of success, I would embrace it and I would use it to drive you. So a few things that we did early on when we were experiencing that stress and anxiety and no inflows is we got very strategic about our systems and our structure internally. So when you get busy, a lot of times the business stuff lapses because you're just putting out fires and you're just managing your day-to-day. So early on is a great time to set your foundations. So foundationally, some things that you should consider is like, how are we directing the flow of traffic? So when we get traffic, how are we directing that? And having a piece of software that does this in an automated fashion would be integral to one of those foundational pillars. I did not have that early on. Boomerang did not exist. We had to do it manually. It's very time consuming and we had a lot of holes or a lot of lapses. So I would say develop your systems, incorporate a software that can truly help drive traffic, partner with someone that's going to help manage the top of the funnel, which I'm sure Jerome will get into what the top of the funnel is versus the middle of the funnel. So partner with someone like Boomerang that can really help manage and drive traffic at the top of the funnel. And they've developed these integrated systems that once you get this patient in your practice, you can get that patient to other areas or other aspects of the practice. And then you'll slowly start to see growth. And when that snowball effect starts to churn and you start to figure out how to manage your sales funnel, it'll roll downhill quickly once you get the wheels spinning.